Hi, this is Rudy Jones of UpStateBaseball.com. Welcome to the South Carolina College Baseball Recap for Saturday, March the 7th. I didn't bother to put up the background as pitiful as it looks because I want to save as much time to get in bed. I'm going to lose an hour before we go to church because of daylight savings time. Don't forget, turn your clocks back tonight before you go to bed, or you can get up at 2 o'clock and do it if you like that better. There was a lot of action in the state, 42 games played in all. Maybe one of the most exciting games was down in Conway, where for the second straight day, Rex Watson provided the difference in a win for the Chanticleers over East Carolina. On Friday night, he hit a grand slam in the bottom of the 10th to give Coastal a 10-6 win. On Saturday, a 1-1 tie going to the bottom of the 8th, and Watson comes up and hits a 3-run homer as part of a 5-run inning, and the Chanticleers win that game by a 7-run inning, and the Chanticleers win it by a score of 8-1. Bryce Eastep also homered in the 8th inning, and Ross Norman allowed 4 hits and a run in 8 innings to get the win he did get the win for the Chanticleers. Coastal improved to 95. East Carolina fell to 7-1. Over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, Michael Sharman struck out 8 and did not allow an earned run in 5 innings as Clemson took game 1 of its doubleheader with LaSalle by a score of 6-4. In game 2, the Tigers won that in run rule fashion, 14-1 in 7 innings. Dane Moeller got the start for the Tigers. He pitched an inning, allowed 2 hits but no runs as they were trying to work him back into a bigger role into the lineup. For the Tigers, Jaron Purify had a great 2 games as a leadoff batter. He was 4 for 6 with a double, a homer, 4 walks, 3 stolen bases, 6 runs scored, and 2 RBI. You get that kind of table setting, you're going to be doing fine. Tigers improved to 14-1. LaSalle fell to 8-5. Down in Columbia, Logan Sutter homered in both games, and South Carolina rallied in both games to beat Princeton by scores of 10-7 and 4-3. Sutter's homer in the 8th inning of Game 2 broke a 3-3 tie as the Gamecocks improved to 11-5 on the season, 4 straight wins this week. Princeton fell to 2-9. They're a dangerous team. Will Craddock had a couple of hits and 2 RBIs for Carolina in the nightcap. Carolina played without Patrick Evans, who was out with an illness. Apparently there's some kind of a bug going through the dugout. I'm sure Carolina's going to try to isolate the folks who are having problems as much as they can. Down in Austin, USC Upstate scored 6 runs in the 9th inning, but Texas held on for an 11-9 win to get a series win over the Spartans. The Upstate was down 11-3 going to the 9th. They actually had the tying run on base, go-ahead run at the plate before Texas got out of it. Texas is now 14-0. The Spartans fell to 7-9. For Upstate, Wiley Waters was 3 for 4 with a walk and a run driven in. Upstate out-hit Texas 14-11. Down in Atlanta, Matt Gallant allowed a run over 5 innings in Game 2 as Charleston Southern salvaged a split of a doubleheader and a series win over Georgia State. In Game 1, the host Panthers won by a score of 5-2. Game 2 score was 9-1. Charleston Southern over Georgia State. Sorry, I'm pausing a little bit. I'm trying to read it to get it right. I can't just seem to memorize things as I go. And as you see, if it comes up, I recycle my paper. The Buccaneers are 12-3, still off to a great start. Georgia State fell to 10-7. Up in Lexington, Kentucky scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th and overtook the Citadel by a score of 12-7. Tough luck for the Bulldogs. They had taken the lead in the top of the 8th before Kentucky rallied. Kentucky's now 13-2. The Citadel is 5-7. Lane Tobin had a big 2-run hit for the Bulldogs in that game. That was his first hit of the year. At Patriots Point in Mount Pleasant, Tyler Cox doubled 3 times and drove in 4 runs as Hofstra beat College of Charleston by a score of 8-3 to even that Coastal Athletic Association series. The Pride are now 1-7 and 1-1 in the conference. The College fell to 6-8 and 1-1. For Charleston, Landon Penfield had a single, a double, and scored a run. In Auburn, Winthrop suffered his second straight shutout loss to Auburn in Game 1 of a doubleheader, and the Tigers completed a sweep with a strong finish in Game 2. First game score was 6-0 Auburn. Second game score was 8-1. For Winthrop, they are now 10-5 after having their 8-game winning streak snapped on Friday night. and Auburn improved to 13-2. For Winthrop, Grant McGuire had 2 hits in game 1, and Colin Crowley had three hits, including a couple doubles, and scored a run in game 2. Up in LP France Stadium in Hickory, Appalachian State scored 6 runs in the second inning and went on to a run ruler win over Presbyterian by a score of 13-3. It clinched a series win for the Mountaineers, who complete the series up in Boone on Sunday. The Blue Hose fell to 2-13, and they've lost 13 straight games. One of the few bright spots for PC so far this year has been the hitting of Amon Dewberry. In Saturday's game, he had a double, a run scored, and 2 RBI. Moving on to NCAA Division II, Cooper Noble's sacrifice fly gave North Greenville a 3-2 walk-off win over Mount Olive in game 1 of a doubleheader, and the Trailblazers went on to sweep the Trojans by a score of 7-1 in game 2. North Greenville is now 19-2 overall, 10-2 in Conference Carolinas. Mount Olive fell to 9-9 and 4-8. In game 1, Kai Tullis was 2 for 2 with a walk and a stolen base for the Trailblazers. And in game 2, Thomas Powell had a pair of home runs. Elsewhere in Conference Carolinas, Charlie Bussey and Will Durrell had 6 hits apiece as Francis Marion swept a doubleheader from Barton. First game score was 25-3. Second game score was 17-6. The Patriots are now 18-3 overall, 10-2 in the conference, and Barton fell to 3-14 and 2-10. Over in Due West, Carson Yates doubled in Jacob Platt to give Erskine a walk-off win over Southern Wesleyan in game 1. That score was 5-4. But in game 2, the Warriors scored a pair of runs in the ninth, including a bases-loaded walk, to win that game by a score of 9-8. With that result, Erskine is now 9-15 overall, 7-5 in the Conference Carolinas. Southern Wesleyan is 7-15 and 3-9. As I mentioned, Yates had the go-ahead run winning RBI in game 1. He had a total of 3 hits, and in game 2, Ethan Schemmel was 2 for 4 with a stolen base, a hit batsman, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBI for the Warriors. In the Peach Belt Conference, Mason Salisbury's 9th inning RBI double gave Lander the lead, and they held on to tie its series with Augusta by a score of 9-8. The Bearcats had taken an early 6-0 lead, but Augusta tied it. Bearcats went ahead 8-7. Augusta tied it again. That set the stage for for Salisbury's 9th inning heroics. Lander's now 13-8 overall, 7-4 in the conference. Augusta fell to 12-9 and 8-3. Brody Winter had a single, 2 doubles, a homer, a stolen base, 3 runs scored, and 3 RBI for Lander. USC Aiken scored single runs in innings 2 through 6 and then added 5 in the 7th and evened its series with Columbus State by a score of 10-3. For the Pacers, Yariel Diaz was 4 for 5 and scored 2 runs. Aiken is now 16-5 overall, 6-2 in the conference. Columbus State fell to 10-8 and 5-3. Flagler scored the go-ahead run on an error at home, then added 3 more runs and beat USC Beaufort 7-3 to clinch a series win in that series. Flagler is now 14-6 overall, 4-4 in the Peach Belt. USC Beaufort, which has lost 6 straight games, is 4-15 and 0-11. For the Sand Sharks, Cooper McDaniel was 2 for 4 with 2 stolen bases, a run scored, and an RBI. Down at Mirmo Field in Orangeburg, North Georgia got a pair of run rule wins over Claflin. First game score was 20-2. Second game score was 20-4. The Nighthawks have beaten Claflin 15 straight times. Claflin is on a 14-game losing streak right now. North Georgia is 18-5 overall, 11-1 in the Peach Belt. Claflin fell to 3-16 and 0-12. For the Panthers, Devin Tallington had a triple and scored a run in game 1, and Devin Campbell had 2 doubles and a run scored in game 2. In the South Atlantic Conference, a wild pitch in the 12th inning allowed Coker to score the winning run for a 14-13 win over Newberry in the opener of a doubleheader down in Hartsville. But the Wolves came back for a 6-2 win in the nightcap. They had scored 3 runs in the 6th, 2 in the 7th to go ahead in that game. With the result, Coker is now 5-16 overall, 5-7 in the SAC. Newberry is 13-8 and 8-7. In game one, Luke Alford was 4 for 6 with a double, a homer, 2 runs scored, and 3 RBI for the Cobras. While in game two, Will Rissmiller was the winning pitcher. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up a run, and struck out 4. Lincoln Memorial scored 9 runs in the 6th inning of game two and went on to complete a doubleheader and series sweep of Anderson. First game score was 8-6. Second game score was 14-8. The Rail Splitters are now 14-9 overall, 8-4 in the SAC. Anderson fell to 14-8 and 4-8. For the Trojans, Braden Harrison had a couple of homers and 4 RBI in game one, and Zach Stover was 3 for 3 with a walk, 2 steals, a run scored, and 2 RBI in game two. In the Appalachian Athletic Conference, Corbin Wright had 5 hits, and Columbia International rallied in both games to complete a doubleheader and a series sweep up at Bluefield in Virginia. First game score was 7-3. Second game score was 9-3. The Rams, which had a terrible start, they lost, I think, 11 straight to start the season. They're now 8-18, 6-6 in the conference. Bluefield fell to 5-11 and 0-8. In game one, Daniel Sadati had a double, a run scored, and 3 RBI for the Rams. Up in Pikeville, Kentucky, Thatcher Ballman's infield single drove in the go-ahead run in the ninth, and Spartanburg Methodist held on to beat Pikeville by a score of 7-6 and take the rubber game of that series. The Pioneers are now 9-11 overall, 3-6 in the AAC. Pikeville fell to 11-6 and 5-4. For the Pioneers, Matt Smith was 4 for 5 with 2 runs scored and an RBI. In the HBCU Athletic Conference, Wilberforce won game one of a doubleheader against Voorhees by the score of 12-3, but the Tigers came back to win game two by a score of 7-3. I think they played that second game to make up one of a 3-game series that was washed out down at Denmark earlier this year. I guess they could not make up all 3, but they could at least make up 1. Wilberforce is now 8-5 overall, 3-1 in the HBCUAC. Voorhees is 2-12 and 1-3. Ethan Farrell had a pretty good day for the Tigers. He pitched a complete game in the nightcap, and Jaden Johnson had a hit, 2 walks scored, 2 stolen bases, and an RBI in game one. And Bryce Austin homered and drove in 2 runs in game two for Voorhees. In the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, Edward Waters wiped out an early 3-run deficit and rolled past Benedict by a score of 17-4 into game one of a doubleheader, snapping an 8-game winning streak for the Tigers. In game two, it was suspended until Sunday because of what I would believe to be rain. Edward Waters was leading 9-7 in the 6th inning of that game. Edward Waters improved to 10-10 overall, 6-4 in the conference. Benedict fell to 8-4 and 6-4. And for the Tigers of Benedict, Jonathan Olmedo had a double and drove in 2 runs. In Virginia State held off a Morris comeback in game one and then rolled to a win in game two. First game score was 4-3. Second game score was 14-2. Virginia State, which has had a bunch of rain out and cancellations, is now 2-2. Morris fell to 2-9. For Morris, in game one, Miles Thomas was 1 for 3 with an RBI, and in game two, Jonathan Warren had a double and drove in a run. In Junior College Region 10, Florence Darlington Tech extended its winning streak to 9 with a pair of wins over USC Salkehatchie. Game one score was 14-2 in 5 innings. Game two score was 6-2. For the Stingers, Jace Rainey was 3 for 3 with a double, 2 steals, 2 runs scored, and 3 RBI in the opener, while Gabe Harold had a couple of hits, 2 runs scored, 2 RBI, and 2 stolen bases in the nightcap. FD Tech is now 21-5 overall, 7-2 in Region 10. Salkehatchie fell to 3-22 and 1-7. USC Lancaster and USC Sumter split a doubleheader. The Lancers scored 5 runs in the final 2 innings and won game one by a score of 6-5, while Sumter rallied in game two and won 11-3 to split the doubleheader. For Lancaster, they're now 11-10 overall, 2-5 in the conference. Sumter is 13-7 and 4-3. In that game one, Aaron Gilden had a homer and drove in 3 runs as part of the comeback. In game two for Sumter, Sam Nino delivered a walk-off win. Sam Nino got the walk-off win for Lancaster in game one. I'm sorry about that. He had single to deliver the win. And then in game 2, Riley Darby doubled twice and drove in 5 runs for Sumter. Again, Lancaster's 11-2, 2-5. Sumter is 13-7 and 4-3. Gaston College beat USC Union twice. First game score was 14-4. Second game score was 9-8. The Rhinos had to rally in both games. Got 2 runs in the 6th of game 2 to win that game 9-8. They held on, and they won the first game, as I said, 14-4. Gaston College is 23-2 overall, 6-2 in the league. They're half game behind FD Tech. They've got a game going tomorrow. And Union fell to 13-7 and 4-3. Marcus Kirksey homered in both games and drove in 6 runs for the Bantams. Beyond the border, Sacramento State beat LSU 5-4. High Point clinched a series win with a second straight win over Florida by the score of 6-2. And Virginia beat number 8 North Carolina in game 1 to clinch a series win before the Heels won the nightcap 8-7. How about the schedule for Sunday? Let's take a look at what's going on. By the way, the Wofford at Belmont game on Saturday was postponed because of rain. They'll play a doubleheader on Sunday. Here's the schedule for Sunday in chronological order. USC Sumter is at USC Lancaster at noon. That game was moved up because of weather issues. Columbus State is at USC Aiken in the rubber game of that series at 1. Hofstra is at College of Charleston at 1. Again, the Pride will be the home team in that game because this series was moved down from New York. 1 o'clock game at Patriots Point. East Carolina tries to salvage a game against Coastal Carolina at 1 o'clock. We'll see what Rex Watson can do in this one. Edward Waters and Benedict complete their suspended game from Saturday. Then they'll play a scheduled game at 1 o'clock at Tiger Baseball Field in Columbia. Gaston College and USC Union wrap up their series at 1 at Jonesville Ballpark. Landers at Augusta at 1 in the rubber game of that series. LaSalle and Clemson will wrap up their series at 1 o'clock. Morris is at Virginia State at 1. Presbyterian and Appalachian State play at 1. The Citadel tries to salvage a game at Kentucky with a 1 o'clock game at Kentucky Pride Park. USC Beaufort is at Flagler at 1 o'clock. USC Upstate is at Texas at 1. Wofford and Belmont play a doubleheader at 1 in Nashville. And Princeton and South Carolina play a single game at 1:30 to wrap up the schedule. A couple of games that were moved to Saturday that had been scheduled for Sunday. Charleston Southern at Georgia State and Winthrop at Auburn. As I say, they played part of doubleheaders on Saturday. You can always keep up with what's going on at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. You can follow my updates on X, formerly known as Twitter, under the handle of @PalmettoBase. You can get links to box scores, notes, other things at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. You can check out the Palmetto State Baseball group on Facebook, and you can email me at RudyJones@PalmettoStateBaseball.com if you have suggestions, criticisms, compliments, or whatever else. Again, time to turn back the clocks before you go to bed. Hope you'll go to church on Sunday if you're a believer. If not, I'd like to invite you to come to visit us at Reed River Baptist Church sometime if you don't have a church home. We're between the Furman Golf Course and Travelers Rest in Greenville County. And we have worship services at 10:30. You can find out all about us at reedyriverbc.org. For now, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com on Saturday, March the 7th, saying good night, Jesus loves you.